Welcome to another episode of Fight the Burnout. As you know, this season we have first responders here. So today we have a very special guest. As usual, they're very special. But we have Dominique Mathis from the U.S. She told me all the different things, but I'll get her to say them again. But pretty much she's a training supervisor, coordinates all sorts of different things, has lots of people working underneath her, and does amazing things. But before we get started and get her to tell us about herself, remember, get a pen and paper or at least get your phone out, or at least get your listening ears on and take one thing away from this episode. I don't care. There's going to be hundreds of nuggets, as I call them in here, but just take one thing away and start implementing it. Don't complicate it. Don't put it in the complicator, as one of my old trainers said, and turn it all around and try and bring it out. Just grab one thing and run with it. You can always come back and listen to it. They're going to be here. So before, as that's kind of mentioned, Dominic, why don't you take it away? Tell us about who you are, what you do, because I know you have a lot of different hats that you wear with work, and it's going to be a good episode.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much, Chris, for having me on your platform. My name is Dominique Mathis, and I am from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, currently residing. And I am a training supervisor by day for one of the largest, or we are the largest sheriff's office in the state of Florida. Under my belt, I am in charge of making sure our operators are certified to include our admin personnel as well. I am in charge of our SWAT dispatch program and also our TERT program as well, dealing with FIMA. And I also have a business called Hello 911, where I have a training and development for public safety telecommunicators all around the world. And
Wow.
I have about 17 years of experience. Well, I'm going into my 18th year actually in the field. So there's so much more. Honestly, it could take up an entire podcast, but those are just the basics, the foundation. Yes.
That is amazing. I mean, I know you guys get nailed by hurricanes there all the time. So with FEMA, you must be busy all the time as well. Just
Yes,
wind it up and get
yes.
ready every year.
Yes. So, emergency management is very big, especially down here, with active assailants from whether it's an active shooter, at a public place or, critical incidents that are happening in our public safety answering point. So a lot of that falls under my umbrella as well.
Yeah, wow, wow. Okay, so you got a lot of hats. You got a lot of hats that you put on. First off, let's talk about burnout, because I can guarantee you've probably experienced it. You wouldn't be doing all the things that you're
Yes.
doing and doing the things that you run your own business with, helping people around the world. Um, and we'll get into that. I'm curious about what that entails and that as well. But tell us about, what is burnout to you? Like when you like, okay, I'm feeling this is where I'm starting to get to burnout again.
Honestly, I completely shut down. I completely shut down where I kind of go into solitude, where I do not want to be bothered with anyone, whether it's coworkers, whether it's honestly my family, where I come home and I just want to be by myself. I want that Dominique time. And a lot of it deals with me coming to work, not being motivated to do absolutely nothing. And we kind of call it that spice. I lose that spice. I lose that, great feeling of what I do. And sometimes it can, last for a day, but I've had it sometimes where it's actually lasted for months.
Mm, mm. So
Yes.
when was the last time it lasted for months?
I want to say that was a couple of years ago when I actually hit the point where I was actually hospitalized,
Oh wow.
um, where I didn't realize it at the time until a doctor had to tell me, say, hey, if you keep doing what you're doing, you're going to be back here again. But she actually said, you're 29 years old and you're not going to be able to see your kids grow up. And I recently had my most current burnout, I want to say was last month in December. And I had the pleasure of, it was interesting how things aligned, where I was actually able to participate in a stress management class for 40 hours. And that's when I realized what was going on. And again, it's seeing those signs and being able to, help yourself get out of that.
Yeah.
But, it's tough. And a lot of times we don't see the signs ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. Especially as a first responder, I don't know about you, but every first responder I talk to, we always refer to, hey, we're here to give to everybody else. And we completely forget about ourselves, because where you focus, energy flows. And so you're so
Right.
focused on everybody else and giving to everybody else, and in your role, giving to multiple, hundreds of people, um,
Absolutely,
and the
Chris.
whole
Absolutely.
community. And
Yes.
so we lose that focus. You know, obviously you had something that, and we have things come up, and I've had things, and last year I had stuff,
Hmm.
and even we just came out of a
Hmm.
lockdown here the end of last year, and a big 5 month long one, and it hit me, and I don't know if I would say I'm burning out, but it wasn't away mentally, not physically, but
Right.
um, and we always have it, but we catch ourselves sooner and sooner and sooner on things, and sometimes it, you know, for me it was quite a big one. This
Right.
last one, I didn't feel burned out, but I just realized I was doing things that that was like when I was first burned out, seeking
Absolutely. And
thrills
we
on my
have to catch
motorcycle.
it. And, we
Yeah,
see a shift and a change in our behavior. We see the change, especially our families. A lot of times our families will bring it to our
yeah,
attention.
yeah,
And, again, like they say, you give, your 9 to 5 so much, or you give everyone else so much of your time and your energy to where you have nothing to pull from yourself. And it should be the opposite. You give
yeah,
yourself everything. You give yourself 100%. That way you can perform for others at
yeah.
100%. So that's one of the things that, I've learned over the last month. It's interesting. Over the last month, I've learned that.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's so true. I learned that long ago. Like this last burnout, in a way for me was a complete different one because it had nothing to do with giving to everybody else. It had to do with me getting wound up in everything that's going on.
Mhm.
All
Oh, I can relate. I can definitely relate to that.
all the COVID stuff was just I was
Yes.
losing my hope, and so then I was getting burned out. And my wife actually was the one that actually pulled it. So you've gone through that big one. What'd you learn from the big being hospitalized? You know, burnout.
Oh, you know what? I learned to take time for Dominique,
Yeah.
where I had to focus on my health, where honestly I did a shift. I lost like 40 pounds after that situation because I was at work taking calls, dispatching, and the room would start spinning. And I
Mm,
had no idea what was going on. And I didn't realize that it was health related, but it had to be that change. I had to shift, make a change. And I learned from it honestly was stop overworking myself.
mm.
A lot of times we have monetary goals that we want to meet, and we overwork ourselves, honestly, let's say just for a trip, or, I want to buy a home. But then you have to think about it, that who's losing here? You're dedicating so much of your time trying to, meet this goal, but you're also burning yourself out.
Mm,
And before you know it, I remember taking a class with Ariana Huffington of the Huffington Post.
yeah.
And she said one day, literally, she woke up one day, grabbed her cell phone. She was in a meeting and her face went flat on the table, the glass table. And for me, that was a change as well, because I remember those days at work, the room is spinning, spinning, spinning. And it was like, okay, but what's going on here? And it had to be a doctor to tell me to say, hey, you have intracranial hypertension. Like your head, honestly, and for me, I
So
felt like my head
stressed
was going
out.
to, yes, I was stressed out. And I didn't realize I was a mom of two, I had a spouse, and again, I'm trying to be there for everyone else except for Dominique. So putting myself first was the biggest lesson that I learned from that situation, because I didn't want to not see my kids at 31 and 35 and 36 as I am today. So that was the most important thing for me.
Awesome. So what'd you implement after that?
Oh, exercising daily. Yes. So whether it's like, and I've learned from my last stress management class, at least 27 minutes a day, right? But
Yeah.
if you can give it more, give it more. So for me was being, physical activity. Journaling was another one,
Mm,
writing down my thoughts, therapy, most importantly. We have the insurance, they pay for mental health services. So why not, get a therapist? So I started going to therapy, talking about my feelings, because a lot of times I kept my feelings, balled up. And I had a gentleman tell me, an elderly guy said, hey, just talk about it. Talk about it every chance you get, because one day you may not get to share your story because you're 6 feet under. So
mm-hmm.
journaling, therapy, daily activity, and again, having that me time for Dominique, whether it's 10 to 15 minutes a day, just sitting in solitude or just sitting in silence. And that's what worked for me. And it definitely helped me on my journey a lot.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So this last December, which one of those dropped away?
Oh, I would say all of them. And you know what? It wasn't just a month. You know what? That actually was happening for a very, very long time.
Mm,
For some months, I think it wasn't until December where I realized, what was actually happening.
Yeah.
For me, it was coming to work upset all the time,
Mm,
not wanting to be there, not wanting to perform. And again, I know I can perform, let's say 120, 200%, right? But I honestly felt like I was giving maybe 20%. I was coming home. I didn't want to be bothered by my children. And I don't like to use the word bother, but I just didn't want to interact. It
yeah.
was okay, guys, figure it out by yourself. Mommy is here, but just figure it out. Not wanting to interact with friends. I kind of felt like I was sinking into like a depression.
Yeah.
But that's how I felt. I just absolutely did not want to do anything. And it was because of that class. On the second day of class is where I started to see a change in my behavior.
Mm,
Because again, if not, we all know, what happens on the outside it has an effect on you internally.
yeah.
People are saying they have ulcers, they have high blood pressure, and I was having headaches every single
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So that's where I knew I needed to make that change.
Did you get memory loss?
It's funny you say that, right? Because I feel like that's happening with me, or it was happening like big time. I was forgetting where I put my keys.
Mm,
I will become frustrated and very angry because I couldn't find them. I'll put something down in the house and I couldn't find it. And my son, he's 19, he will say, Mom, you all right? Are you okay? And it was like, yeah, I just can't find something. But it's funny you say that because it was happening. I was forgetting where I would put anything.
mm,
And for me, it kind of scared me, to be honest with you. Because I said, dementia, and that stuff runs in my family. So I said, oh
same.
God, am I experiencing this? Right. But it could have been part of the stress. And I didn't realize that.
It is. It's one of the things when I went through my biggest burnout. Like as a cop, I was a cop still at the time, and I'd forget stuff. My wife
Mhm.
would ask me to do something, and I'd forget it, and and it's one of the first signs like I pick up now because I've got dementia. My grandmother passed away
Mm.
from dementia.
Well,
Um,
sorry to hear that.
it's all good. It was a while ago, but she, but yeah. So I had it in my head that that's what I was getting, early onset dementia. I wasn't telling
Mm.
anybody. I wasn't talking about it again with everything else. Wasn't talking, but memory loss. I went to the counselor. Third one's a charm. So when we say therapist and counselor and that, getting therapy, make sure that you click with the person. You don't have to go to the first person you go
Absolutely.
to. But
Absolutely.
she was like, Chris, you're burned out, and rattled off all these things, everything that you just said, rattled off
Wow.
all of them, and goes, and also in there was memory loss, like short-term memory loss, and I was like,
Mm.
whoa, okay.
Surprise, you were shocked,
And
right?
I was like, oh, and she rattled everything off, and I'm sitting there going, because she had us go, you said, had my wife say what's going on, have me say what's going on, and then because we're at the verge of divorce, like we literally were like, yeah, and we've been to counseling a few times prior to that because I'd gone through things as a cop as well, and
Right.
the counselor goes, yeah, you both have stuff going on, and as a relationship, you have stuff going on, but she's like, sorry, Chris, but it has to do with you, and I was like,
Mm.
bullshit, it has to do with me. And she goes, Chris, you're burned out. She's like, your tank is so empty. And she rattled off everything that you just said. And she's like,
It's funny you say that. Well, I won't say it's funny, but I felt like I lost a relationship because of what was happening at work,
mm,
and I brought it home.
yeah,
And it wasn't until years later where I understood. I say, damn, oh, excuse me. Like it wasn't him, it was me.
yeah,
A lot of it had to do with me. I was driving like an hour and a half back and forth to work every day. That in itself was stressful.
yeah,
It wasn't a time to turn the jazz music on and relax. No, I'm upset because I'm fighting traffic, and then when I get home, like I don't have the energy to,
yeah,
entertain you or have a conversation. So I can understand that part, Chris. I
yeah.
can. I
And
can.
it does. And, what we bring to the table affects us all. And, but back to the memory
Yes.
loss, because I think it's one of the things that people stress the most about, but don't talk about. And this is
Mm,
why I asked you if you had it, because I was curious, because so many people will be like, I just, my memory's going. It's just
right,
what it
right.
is. It's, I'm getting older, remember, and I'm like, no, your memory shouldn't be going. Your memory should be getting better because
Mm.
you have more knowledge. And so it's just something to be aware of. If your memory's starting to go, take a self check. You know,
Take a self check.
as I was talking with another cop, a few episodes ago, evaluate. As cops, we
Yeah.
evaluate every situation, evaluate your own situation, and
Mm.
that's stuck with
Bingo.
me. And but yeah,
Bingo.
also on the traffic thing, real quick, I just wanted to reiterate for those listening, What's your thoughts on the fact of just changing your focus?
Honestly, that um was a shift for me as well. That was the paradigm shift, changing my focus.
Mm,
I noticed again when I was at work, I wasn't focusing on work itself. I wasn't focusing on my responsibilities. I was focusing on what everyone else was not doing, which again was negative. You get what I'm like? That was very negative. So I wasn't understanding that, hey, they are not meeting these deadlines, due to, whatever reasons. I was always focused on the negative.
mm,
And that's when I realized this is toxic. Dom, this is toxic. Like you got to change this because I couldn't see the good in people. So honestly, I started focusing on the
mm,
good. Like I can come, it's like you always want to focus on, the what ifs, right?
yeah,
But you always want to focus on, okay, but what if this does have an outcome?
yeah,
Or again, it's like changing your language of how
yeah,
you're speaking,
yeah,
changing, again, daily affirmations. That was big for me.
yeah,
So again, because I had to focus my energy from being negative all the time and I had to go to a more positive direction. So I will tell you the number one focus was to be positive
mm,
because the more negative I was, again, it was a reflection of how I treated my coworkers. It was a reflection of how I was inside of my home. So I started meditating. I started, listening to, again, daily affirmations. I
yeah,
started listening to different music because that changed, my focus from being negative all the time to a more positive Dominique.
yeah.
And let me tell you, it was a game changer because now I wasn't listening to the music that was like, so, we're pumped up, we're ready to start a war, but no, let's listen to some jazz,
Yeah.
let's calm down,
Changes
and
that state to a positive state, but still vibrates you up.
yes, honestly, the vibrations were there. I went from like negative 20 vibrations, right? So now I feel like I'm on 1,000.
Yeah. Is that what
And
you've done
again,
since December in the last few months?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, I
Yeah.
have definitely, I would say like maybe within the last 2 months, absolutely. Yep. Within the last 2 months, that's when I started to make the change. And people see it as well. I'll
Mm,
tell you that. I see it in my face. I
yeah.
don't have the breakouts anymore, right? I'm not stressing, I'm not overeating,
Yeah.
and that's part of it. Like it was like a complete, I'll say 180 change, but now I'm moving more towards the 300, 360 change.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
So
that's
that was that the change in the focus of being from negative to positive, I would say is the best thing that I could have ever did.
it's amazing when you realize those. I had the same thing. It's I think there's something going on in the universe in December because God, whatever whatever you believe in, but I always say the
Yeah.
universe because in December I had the same thing. And on my phone I was like, okay, I need to get something that actually forces me to think this because I know all this, but let's get. And so I
Yes.
put it on my phone. There's an app called Morning, and it's
Morning. Yes. Yes.
your daily gratitudes. And so you put your
Ooh.
gratitudes, what you want to go well today, or what could make today good, your affirmation, and then at the end of the
Yes.
day, you write three things that went well and three things that you could have made better. Um,
Yeah.
and it's amazing. And then I put a quote widget on my phone as well, so it constantly has these quotes that I'm like,
Mm.
oh wow, that's like, and and so, but by doing those little shifts, because sometimes we need an external to bring awareness, even though we know it. And so,
Absolutely. And I think for me, Sean, you use the keyword there, gratitude.
yeah,
That was big for me, accepting what's here and being thankful for what's right in front of my face instead of the negative complaints all the time. So
yeah.
me showing gratitude, I remember again, I downloaded this app. It's called Eternal Sunshine by
Yeah.
Londrell. And uh he changed my life. He did. He did.
That's
It
awesome.
did.
That's
It
awesome.
changed my life. So it was great.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, so we know we've got the tools. We know what to do. We've been doing it, but there's so many first responders, law enforcement, civilians out there, as we call them. And I'm not trying to put anybody down, but we have a tendency. That's our language that we use.
Yeah.
Civilian and officers or first responders.
Yes.
Um, not that we're better than anybody, but it just I don't know. It's just the language that's used.
Right.
You've got a
Right.
lot of people that you work with, or have leadership over. Uh,
Yes.
what are some things that we can tell people to do? Obviously, all the stuff that we do is it, but what are some key things, like just two or three key things that you believe if somebody implemented just one of them today, into their life, or that you got one of your, the people that you lead, to implement, it would shift and change their productivity, change their life, change what they do, how they act, their relationships, their everything. What would be like that one or those one or two things?
First, again, I'm going to say put yourself and your family first.
Mm,
Even though I am in a supervisor role, however, I understand that a lot of times when you put work first, someone's losing out on something. And if your family is not there for you, or you're not giving your family time, honestly, we say family over everything, right? And
mm,
that is a true statement. You need to put yourself and your family first, because your job will replace you one day.
mm,
And when you're in the hospital, when you're sick, you've had a stroke because of burnout, you will be replaced.
yeah.
So I always emphasize that, like, give yourself time. And I have some people on my team that they are go-getters. They want to be, on everything. They want every assignment. And I see myself in a lot of them, but I also have to explain to them, hey, in 5 or 10 years, your body is going to show it. Your body eternally, you're going to shut down. So put yourself first, put your family first.
Yeah. And there's
And I
there's
think
no
another,
before you jump into number two, there's no reason that you can't be that productive and that
yes,
driven
yes,
and still put yourself first.
you're absolutely right. You cannot,
No,
you
I believe
cannot.
you can. I believe you can
You
though.
think so?
Yeah, I believe you can with structure and with structure and strategies, because
Makes
you look
sense.
at some of the most successful people in the world, they're a hell of a lot busier than we are.
Yes, absolutely. You're right. You're right. Or some people say they aren't, but I believe
Well,
they are because of
yeah,
demanding work schedules.
they learn to be able to, delegate and do things. And I say this,
Ooh,
when
say
I
that word again.
delegate.
Delegation.
And this is the
Yes.
key: is delegate things out or clump things together. Get kids helping to do things so you're not doing it all yourself. When you're at work, I say this all the time when I'm talking to and I'm coaching people when it comes to work. I go, there's things that you don't enjoy doing.
Yes.
Find one of your work colleagues that loves fucking doing those, and find what they don't enjoy doing and see if you enjoy it. Because just because
Absolutely.
you're in one role doesn't mean that you necessarily have to do all those things. Yes, there's going to be things that you don't enjoy doing that you still have to do, just like anything, just like a business owner. But if you can swap and shift and change and go, hey, I don't like doing spreadsheets, or I don't do whatever it is, and they go, I absolutely love it. You go,
Hey, here
cool.
you go.
Here you
Here
go.
you go.
What
Here
don't,
you
and then
go.
reciprocal, what don't you like? Let's see if there's something in there that I really enjoy doing.
Yes.
Because then all of a sudden you're working as a team more, and you're making more
Yes.
productivity, and you're going and you're being more of a go-getter. You're getting that stuff done. You're getting the
Right.
promotion because you're doing that. So I believe that you can, but we have a
Mm.
limiting mind belief that we have to sit in our own thing, especially as first responders. You're a frontline
Yes.
patrol officer, and that's what you are. You are nothing else. Well, you can,
Absolutely.
and when you're at scenes, you can do and you can be that more go getter. It's just a matter of structuring your life so you are putting yourself first in the most full ways. My way to make
Yes.
most full way is get out on my motorcycle. So
Wow.
even if I'm commuting to work,
Right.
most people would be like, commuting to work on a motorcycle, I'm splitting lanes, having to be focused, and it's not riding a motorcycle like a motorcycle is meant to be ridden, depending on who you're talking to. But for me, I'm on a motorcycle. My focus, as we talked about before, is I can't. I get to ride this motorcycle, and so every day
Right.
I'm riding the motorcycle to work. It's like, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yes.
So it lights me
And
up every
that was
single
very
time.
hard for me. That was very hard for me to delegate
Mm,
because I wanted to do everything myself. And that was part of my burnout, wanting to do every single thing. And I remember this happened recently with one of my, and I hate to use the word subordinates, but one of the young ladies on my team, she said, Dom, I'll take care of that for you. And the first thing I said was, no, I got it. I got it. She said, no, Dom, I can do it for you. And when I told her, okay, take care of it for me, I appreciate that, I felt like weight was
yeah.
lifted off of my shoulders.
And this is the
And it
thing, and
was,
this is how we become more
yes,
productive, is we start to focus on the fact of what, it's also asking yourself, why don't I want to give it up?
control. Let's talk.
and
Yes, control.
and then it's asking yourself, why do I need to be in control so much? Why can't I let
Ooh,
go?
yes. Yes. And Chris, and that was the shift for me as well, was saying, hey, Dom, you got the team. And I think a lot of times we need to, and I think that's the good thing about having a team. Everyone's not going to be perfect. Like you said, someone's going to be good in Excel, someone may be great in PowerPoint, someone may be good with the tech part of it. And all of us putting our heads together as one, we can make something happen.
Yeah.
And a lot of times in the workplace, people don't believe in that. Some people think in my role, in my position, that I'm supposed to know everything and do everything. And
Oh,
the truth is, no, I cannot. I do not know everything. And when I don't know it, I'm not afraid to tell you that either. And
and
I think
that's a
that's,
great leader because
yes, like I'm not afraid to tell you that.
it's like a coach. You think about the NFL coaches and that. Best
Yes,
some of the best teams in the world, some of the best sports people in the world that
right.
are underneath these coaches. Most of those coaches weren't very good football players.
Uh, Speak on it. Let's talk about, yes, yes,
But
absolutely.
they know how to look from the outside and get the best out of their people. They know the
Ooh, that's
strengths.
my number two.
Yeah,
That's my number two
they
right
know the
there.
strengths and weaknesses of the team, and they know how to
Yes,
get them to work together. The teams that do
yes,
really, really well can do that. That's why Brady is such a good quarterback. He knows how to get his
yes.
offense to do everything that they do and knows the strengths and weaknesses of them all.
What, he gets to learn them.
Yeah.
He
And
gets to know them.
that's why he can go from the Patriots to he's with the Rams now, isn't he?
I thought he's with the
No,
Rams, or is he with Tampa Bay?
sorry, Tampa Bay. Whoever he's with, I don't
Tampa Bay.
follow him.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't
with
follow
Tampa
him
Bay
usually,
now.
but whoever he's with, so that's why he can go from team to team, and all of a sudden they're doing doing really well. And yes, it takes a while to get into that groove because you got to learn new people. But
Gotta learn new people. Hmm.
this is the thing: is that as a leader, you don't need to be good at everything, and you shouldn't be.
Absolutely not. And you should not be. And I think that's one of the things, that the shift that we need to have in the
Mhm.
workplace, that we need to understand that everyone is not going to be great at everything. Like everyone is not going to be a great 911 call taker. Let's just put it out there. However, we have to be able to know how to take a call, process the call. But there are some operators that are going to go above and beyond what is
Yep.
expected. And a lot of times, I have to get my trainers to understand it, because they want everyone to perform at their level. And it's not going to happen. If they can answer a call, they can dispatch police or paramedics to a call, and they do it according to policies and procedures, that's fine. And you'll have some people say, well, they sound like they had an attitude. Well, to you, they may have had an attitude, but to the caller, they may have provided them the most exceptional service because they were in a time of need. They were in their most, distressful
Most
moment.
vulnerable. Yeah.
Right there, the most vulnerable moment. So again, it's not about how you see things. And that's like my number two, is to understand have a different perspective for everyone. I'm
Mhm.
not going to treat, every student the same. I'm not going to treat every instructor the same. I'm just not going to treat everyone the same, because there are people who, they may be a little bit more sensitive. They may be a little bit more outgoing. Like I could come into work and say, good morning, everyone, and no one responds, right? And someone will say, well, what's wrong with you? You're so chipper. And then for me, it's like, oh, okay, you're a little negative today. Let's stay away from you. And for me, my energy, I will stay away from that. But then I'll also understand, well, maybe they're a little bit upset because they came into work early, or they're a little bit stressed
Or they have
out, or
something
something
going
could
on
be
at
going,
home, or
have something going on at home. When I was an instructor, that was the first thing I would always tell them. There are going to be days where I come in here, guys, and I'm not the best version of myself, because I'm probably going through something is bothering me, but I need your help. I need you to cheer me up.
yeah,
I need you to bring me back to that space.
yeah.
And to be honest with you, it worked for me. I understood them. And there were times when a lot of them, we become close friends
Mhm.
after I left their role. Because again, I treated them as a human,
Yeah.
and for me is, I always want to see the greater good in everyone. So it's again changing that mindset to understand that, Dom, everyone's not going to be like you. Everyone's not going to be the perfect call taker. Everyone's not going to be the perfect dispatcher. But again, they're coming, they're providing the service, and accept that,
Yeah.
you
They're
know.
giving the best that they
However,
can in that moment.
in that moment, absolutely. So for me, it's again, that brings me pride and joy to know that, hey, in my weakest moment, or in their weakest moment, I'm here to render assistance, and they're able to do the same for me.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. There was something in there, but I think you went over it. It's amazing when you can let go, and oh, it was the Also thinking about, and this goes for everybody listening, that, and you might get something out of this as well, is when you have that person, you come in, you're that chipper chipmunk, you're like, yeah, it's the most amazing day. And you have that person, like you said, that goes, why are you so excited?
Yes.
My comment back to them, again, we'll get into just here in a second about the why, but my why, we talked about, is that I want to create less pain in myself and others. So if this person's in pain and they're trying to bring me down, that's going to create more pain for myself. So I need to create less pain for them. So and so I go, well, why aren't you so chipper?
Love it. Love it. Love it. Right? Love it.
That language,
Yes.
shifting that language around is
Yes.
like, well, yeah, okay, and why aren't you so chipper? And because it gets them, and you just walk away. You don't even need to get an answer from it. But what it does is it gets them to go, well, wait a second, or they go, but they can't actually fight with it because they know subconsciously that there is something going on, and so yeah, and it
Absolutely.
gets them
And
thinking.
that's their way of telling you. And sometimes, that could be a cry for help.
It could be.
I look, yes, honestly, being in the field for a very long time, you start to pick up on little
Yeah.
words, little phrases that people use because, hey, they want you to ask, hey, what's wrong? What's going on? Why
They want
aren't
to
you
feel
chipper
needed.
this morning?
They want to feel needed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
So that
absolutely.
shifts us over
Absolutely.
into what I believe drives us completely. I believe that we have, and we talked about this before we started recording a little bit, but we all have an underlying seated why that actually does not change. But how
Mm,
we run from it changes. And a lot of people, sadly, run from it in a negative aspect. They run from it, not with it. Uh,
yes.
Mine is, I want to create less pain in myself and others so that I can create the best version of myself. So that's my statement. Now, it takes a bit to get to that
Yes.
statement, but the why is to create less pain. And that comes from me being in a painful spot when my dad went off to chiropractic school when I was like 4.
Right.
And there was pain there. There was also feeling some unwantedness when my mom got married, and just some tension side of stuff, and these different things
Mhm.
when I was a kid. Uh,
Right.
so that was me, and I always ran from it. I always didn't want to be in pain, so I would cling to people. I would, feel like I was being abandoned, and all these different negative things. As soon as I recognized
Right.
it, where it came from, and shifted the meaning of it to a positive, uh,
Right.
and ran from it in a positive way, now it drives everything. It's why the
Right.
podcast was created. It's why I do the coaching that I
Mm,
do. It's why I have conversations with people. It's why I dig into people's brains and consistently try to figure out what's going on with it and rewire it.
yes.
It's why I became a cop. It's why I was
Mm,
always wanting to bring people together in high school and grade school, and through that, not wanting people to be bullied. What would you say
mhm.
your why is, Dominique?
As you were talking, right, I was thinking about this. My why, to be honest with you, has always been family related.
Yep.
My mom passed away when I was 7 years old, and my mom was a teacher. And ever since I was a little girl, I've always wanted to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a school psychologist. And then one day, my friend tells me to apply for being a dispatcher. And I was still in school to be a teacher. And even though I was now, a 911 operator dispatcher, it was always about serving the public in some capacity because I was living that dream of, what I saw growing up was my mom and my dad giving back.
Mm.
Whether it was interacting with people, I saw my mom talking to homeless, vagrants on the street, and she would have a normal conversation with them. So for me, my mom and my boys
Mm-hmm.
have always been that why I continue to go in, to work every day and answer calls because I have to tell you, my life story is quite interesting. Most of the 911 calls that I have taken, I can relate to them.
Yeah.
So, for me, it was therapy for myself. Here
Mm.
I am helping someone else go through their pain because I've experienced that same pain. And
Mm.
like they say, life is the most, the best teacher. Life experience is the best teacher. So for me, I was living in, my purpose of, understanding my why because I was a victim of a lot of things, right? And I'm taking those calls and then I'm understanding, okay, Dominique, but why do you do this and why do you do that? Or people want to know, like, how did you become dispatcher of the year for the state of Florida, right? It was because I could relate to that young lady that was calling. She was a
Mm.
mom. So for me, I always know I'm living in my purpose. And again, it goes back to my family. It's that foundation that was set.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I believe it goes deeper, but okay.
You think so? Okay,
Well,
well,
it
you're gonna
definitely
have to help me go
it
deeper than
it
that.
it it,
You,
it definitely goes deeper than family. So many people. I even saw a coach post on. My wife shared it to me. Well-known
Mhm.
coach, extremely successful, and she posted up her family is her why, and I'm like, no,
Right.
that's a layer of it.
Hmm.
It's a layer
What you
of it.
think? So now that we have a few seconds, what do you think it is? What do
So
you think could be my
my
why?
my the, what I picked up, and it takes a little bit to do it. Happy to do it with you at some stage. But yours
Yes.
does have something to do with teaching and giving, but it has something to do. It'll have something to do
Hmm.
with your mom passing away. How old were you when your mom passed away?
7 years
So
old.
probably something just before there or right around there. It's normally pre 7, 8, 6, 7, 8. An incident
Yes.
happens. Something happens. The officer that I was talking to yesterday, hers was about being alone because her dad packed up his stuff and moved and left home and said,
Mm.
uh, I'm leaving you. You need to be,
Right.
you need to be alone." And that was to his mom, to her mom, not to her, but she took it as a 5-year old that it was her. So she's always run from
Mm.
being alone.
Mm.
And so my belief is it has something to do with teaching and that there's a layer of it there. I don't know the deep one, but it's literally asking yourself why it's important. Why is it important for you to teach? Why was it important for you to be that teacher to help people?
Mm.
Why is it? Or you can go, why is family important to me? Why is it
The
important for me
teaching,
to be around family?
because you know what, you hit it where you said of mom leaving, that being alone, not really having that family environment growing up. It was just me and my dad. My dad was a single father.
Mm,
So it was, and I have an older brother, but we're 7 years apart. And it was that not having that model of a family inside my home
mm,
because it was just us. So I wasn't really around them. So again, I'm like the young lady, always feeling alone by yourself.
mm,
And when I'm in that environment and I'm full of people, you feel a welcome. Like, again, when people call 911, they're at their most vulnerable moment because they need someone.
mm.
And that was me growing up. I needed someone else besides dad. I needed my mom
Yeah,
because we were very, very close before she passed away. So it's that needing feeling, and that's that feeling of knowing somebody needs your help.
yeah.
And that's, yeah, yeah, you're good. You're great, actually. You're great.
So I reckon so if I was coaching you, we'd go into it more into detail. We'd figure things out. We'd really literally get it into a statement like I have mine, because once you
Yes.
have that, you drive from that needing to do things for you, that giving to other people. Because I can feel right now the yo-yo happens because there is a sense of running running that why in your life at the moment still from a bit of a painful place, not a happy place.
Mm, there you go.
Not a it's happened
There.
for me, it's more still running a happened to me.
And I say that a lot.
Yeah,
Everything that happens to you happens for
yeah,
you. I
sounds
say
like
that
you've
all
done
the
some Tony
time.
Robbins stuff as well. um
Tony Robb, yeah, I can name
yeah,
a few.
so
Yes.
I did Date with Destiny 2018 in Palm Beach in
Look at
Florida.
that. We're
Yeah,
connected on so
yeah,
many
we are.
levels we
Yeah,
don't even really know it,
but
right?
but yeah, but when we're running at it from a it's happened to me still, or it's a negative in a way you could call it, it can draw us down, and it draws energy from us. Whereas when we
Mm,
flip it and we're able to rewire it to focus of it's running for me, it's a positive, it's happened,
it's a
and oh my
positive.
god, it's an amazing thing that my
Yes.
mom passed away, and without it I wouldn't be who I am today, and all the different
Um,
rewiring. Then all of a sudden, by us serving that why, it fills us, it empowers us, it
yes.
drives us hard. And so
I love that.
for anybody listening, dig into yourself, dig into those things. And this is something that I do with people all the time. Literally, like I said, I can see it in people. I just by having conversations. And
Yes.
when we have that, it creates that, you talked about, the people that have that aspiring goals, and they were the go-getters, and they're driving, and it's like, oh, I don't believe that you can do that and look after yourself. Well, as soon as you shift that why and that the meaning behind it, all of a sudden you can, because the things you're doing, you'll take
Mm,
that 5 minutes in the morning and you'll be like, yeah, I'm good to go. You'll have that motorcycle ride into
right.
work, and it's like, yep, this has just lit me up. Now I can serve everybody else, because the meaning of everything shifts and changes.
Love that.
So,
Love it.
on that, real quick, as we wrap up, because we're gonna run out of time otherwise. Because I don't, we could be here all day long. I know we could.
Yes, we
It's one of those
can. We
things.
can.
Tell
I
us a little
love it
bit
though.
about what you do and how people get in touch with you. So the
All right.
business that you
So
have on your own.
yes, so I am the founder and CEO of Hello 911. We are training and development in for public safety telecommunicators. So we provide classes on active assailant. We provide classes on customer service, emergency management as well, and I also provide consulting services as well. You can check us out on the website. It is www.hello-911.com. I am on LinkedIn as well with my name, Dominique Mathis. Instagram website is, Instagram page is _ hello 911. And again, I would love to connect with everyone here that is, your guests that are being featured. And I would love to connect with Chris as well on a future date. But that's
Yeah.
exactly how you guys can. And we're also on Facebook as well, under
Cool.
Hello 911 Consulting. So you can
Perfect.
reach us on all platforms.
Awesome. Well, we'll put those down below, because I actually know a few 911 operators in that as well. Well, not 911 here, it's 111, but operators here. Some of my clients who are wanting to become police officers in that, so I will send them that way. But we'll put all those
Thank
details
you.
down below so people can get in touch with you as well. So
Thank you.
the last thing that I have, the last question I always ask is, what's your top tip to self happiness?
I'm sorry. What did you say? You kind of cut out, Chris.
What is your top tip to self happiness?
Ooh. Oh, that's a good one. I think I'm going to go back to putting myself first, honestly. Um, Showing gratitude to myself every day. Because I can accomplish something and you know what, I'll say, you know what, that's it. I don't need anything else. So I don't need to celebrate it or I don't need to acknowledge it. So for me, it's showing gratitude brings happiness to me. It does. Being thankful for what I have right now at this very moment and not thinking about the past or even stressing about the future. Living in the moment. So I'll say living in the moment brings happiness for me.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Any last words, Dominique, before we wrap up?
Again, I want to tell the listeners and to you as well, this is an excellent topic. As 911 operators, dispatchers, or first responders in the field, we're subjected to so many things, whether it's a mother calling about her child drowning, whether it's an officer down situation. And I would encourage anyone to seek assistance for it. Either it's your employee assistance program or whether it's your personal therapy. Again, work on your mental health. That is very, very important because burnout is real. And a lot of people, have died from it, or the ending result of it can sometimes be suicide. So we want to bring awareness to the field, bring awareness to first responders in general. And again, call a friend, text a friend, give someone a hug because they do need it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Yeah, deal with our own shit, then we can be better people to turn up. We can turn up for people better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Dominique, for being here. Thanks for sharing everything and all the tools and the tricks. Remember, everybody who's listening, take one thing away from this. Just one. I don't care what it was, even if it was just that Dominique's awesome. Perfect. Then that's just it. Take it. But,
Yes.
or that you appreciate 911 operators. Whatever it is that you take, or if it is that, holy cow, I recognize more of my why, or I recognize I need to take care of myself
Mhm.
a little bit more, or I recognize I need to give that person a hug. Whatever it is, just take that one thing away and just start doing it every day. Start
Absolutely.
implementing it every single day. And
Yes.
if you are needing help, we are always here. You can just email myself at team@createfromwhy.com, and I'm happy to reach out.
Mhm.
That's team@createfromwhy.com. We also, as we've talked about, do coaching programs and that to help you get into law enforcement, physically and mentally prepare you, but also have my program that's called Productive AF, or Productive as Fuck. And
Love it.
it's all about getting productive. And we talked a little bit about how, finding your why does that, and it does. It all starts with why. So our program takes you through all that. You can find more information about that at www.createfromwhy.com. But I want you to, listen to the next episode and the next one and the next one, and learn from these first responders, because at the end of the day, they are in the meat of everything. They're
Mhm.
dealing and helping people that are in the most traumatic, the most down areas of life at the time. Uh, and they
Yes.
learn how to cope with it.
Yes.
Sometimes we need to learn to cope with it ourselves, but that's why we're here and we're having these conversations. So, till next time, we love you all. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, and send us somebody that you want us to talk to. Send us a first responder that you know, so that we can have that conversation with them as well. Anyways, till next time, we love you.